Concerns are growing about student performance in STEM subjects, with many CSEC students not meeting the requirements for tertiary studies. We have with us President of the University of Technology, Jamaica, Dr. Kevin Brown, and we're going to be discussing what's driving this gap and what it could mean for the country's future workforce. Morning, Doc. Always great to have you.
Morning.
As we were saying on air, it was just a few sentences of a much longer speech, but you know, when it comes to STEM and CSEC, Jamaica gets very anxious about these things. You said this is an emerging crisis. What exactly is happening with the CSEC performance that has you so concerned?
Well, let's look at the destination that we've kind of created for our country. We have said we want to create a knowledge-based economy built on STEM. We want to be a STEM island. That's science, technology, engineering, and math. To achieve that, you need a highly educated population. You need tertiary institutions to be producing high-quality STEM graduates. But before students get to university, you have to have a strong pipeline. You have to have a high number of students coming through the system, leaving high school with strong CSEC passes in maths and English. I know the arts is your passion, but the reality is that maths becomes quite foundational for STEM. Now, if you look at the data, and a paper was published recently by Paul Bourne from VTDI, where he looked at the pass rates for maths and English between 2015 and 2023, it shows that for maths and English, typically the pass rate is below 60%. And for mathematics, it's typically below 40%. Just last year, the pass rate for maths was 44%. Now, to get into UTech, which is a specialized STEM university, typically we require 5 CSEC with maths and English. And of the 30,000 students who sit CSEC, only 6,000 achieve that. You have another cohort, that about 5,000, who do get the 5 CSEC passes, but they have maths or English. They don't have both. And we typically want maths and English. So across the tertiary sector, that's quite a typical entry requirement. So we do need a stronger pipeline in terms of CSEC passes, and therein lies the challenge. Now, is it a new crisis? Not necessarily, because as I said from the data, this has been a trend, and so we do now need to look at how can we get stronger passes in math, but not just stronger passes. How do we get more students
to be engaged with math? No?
Right, to engage in math and to do well in math. Now, I know the Ministry of Education is going through the Patterson report, and they're transforming the education system. I think they're about 30% along the way in terms of the recommendations. But there's a lot of work to be done in terms of addressing this challenge.
So you say 30,000, 6,000 have what you require.
Yep.
No, and then UTech would want 3,000 of those.
Yeah, we typically accept about 3,000 students each year. Yes.
I want to ask you, Doc, pipeline clogged. What is our aversion? I mean, you've done work outside of Jamaica. You've lived outside of Jamaica. Been in education for a long time. What is Jamaica's aversion to complexity with, adverse relationship with math? What is it?
I don't know. I mean, there are many reasons behind why perhaps we're not seeing a stronger engagement with mathematics.
Is it how we're teaching it?
I think there are a number of factors. So again, looking at the data, and I'm an academic that's looking at the data. The reality is that you do have some inequities in the system. If you look at students who underperform in CSEC, it's disproportionately students in low-income areas or disadvantaged communities. So how do you create a more equitable education system? And I know this is what the government wants to achieve. You're going to have to look at ensuring that there's a minimum standard in terms of infrastructure. And perhaps rebuilding schools creates that opportunity now after Melissa to say, okay, how do we ensure that each school has equity in terms of the infrastructure that we provide? I know that e-learning, for example, has been working really hard to put more technology into schools, smart boards, and a lot of teachers are being upskilled in terms of using more technology in the classroom. But fundamentally, we're going to have to look at how do you encourage and excite students when it comes on to math from early childhood, and then bring them through. And so this is why UTEC, we've recently launched a STEM summer camp, and there are other programs and initiatives being launched because we want to use the application of maths to excite students. So in this STEM summer camp, for example, we're targeting high schoolers, and it's all about robotics. It's all about being hands-on. But even if you look at something like robotics, is then how do you ensure that the student understands that robotics is not just about the excitement of the robot doing different things, it's also underpinned by mathematics.
For sure.
There's software that is driving the robot, and you have to understand mathematics to ensure that you can give the robot the appropriate coordinates. So I think the curriculum has to become very hands-on, project-based. Students have to see maths come alive, and it has to become relatable to the everyday activities that they undertake. It's going to take skilled teacher engagement, and so we're going to have to look at how we're teaching maths for sure. But I think there are several initiatives there. We just need to scale them and move quickly. But remember, some of our best and brightest teachers are being taken by other countries. There's a teacher shortage that is persistent, and that doesn't help as well.
Wow.
One of the things you just said, Doc, is something I keep saying about making it relatable. I used to say to the teachers, can we stop having the students count strawberries and peaches and instead count guinea and tamarind and phone credit? Because if you give a child, you give them money and say go buy some credit, then we max it out. Is that part of the challenge as well, that the cultural relevance of it just doesn't resonate with our students?
There are some academics who have written about this, that yes, maybe our curriculum isn't sort of relatable in terms of the Jamaican experience, right? There are some who say that there's still some colonial elements to it. So I agree, we could sort of look at that. But the other thing as well, Dela, is that we have a very strong focus on test outcomes in Jamaica. When you look at PEP and CSEC, right? What doesn't get tested doesn't get taught, and teachers tend to drill down on the exam curriculum, right? I think, for example, going back to the question you just asked, we have school-based assessments for CSEC. I think perhaps we need to look at that for PEP. In other words, and I give you an example, I'm sure as parents, we'd have been, our children would have been given homework to go and, create these projects, right? Just recently, my daughter, for example, was asked to create a physical montage of Jamaica and highlight the counties and so on.
Giving me flashbacks that I can't.
That sounds like
counseling PTSD
project.
Right, but here's the thing, right? That hands-on experience really brought to life the geography of Jamaica for her and her friends. But it's not marked or assessed in PEP, right? So, but it's hands-on. They literally had to have Play-Doh and sort of, they were building out the mountainous structure of Jamaica and so on. But it's not part of the PEP assessment. But it's a very hands-on experience that would have brought home to them the geography of Jamaica and so on. So I think maybe we could look at even saying, okay, well, if we want the students to see the hands-on experience as a part of the importance of the education system, then there could be an argument for PEP to be adjusted where you do have these school-based assessments.
Final question from me. I think you say it's emerging. It's an emerging crisis. Does it mean it might have a little time? I don't know. But then I hear you saying it could be the next generation that fixes this. What is your crystal ball tells you in terms of how soon we can rectify this? Well,
I want to end on a positive note. On a very positive note, the government gets it and they're transforming the education system. It is taking time. It will take a lot of money. But they are using the Orlando-Patterson report as a roadmap, right? And there are lots of good things in the Orlando-Patterson report. And you heard the minister speak last week about tackling the problem at the early childhood level. I agree with her. She spoke about ensuring that we have minimum standards around numeracy and literacy, right? 30% of students entering grade 7 are reading at grade 4. Right, and some of them are functionally illiterate. So she's right to focus on literacy, not just the math, right? But I also say to you that as a university, we are diversifying entry pathways. We're saying, okay, it's not just about 5 CSEC passes. Can we take you, if you have 4 CSEC, and transform you, once we get you into the university, transform you into a high quality graduate? And so we're diversifying how you enter the university. We can't do it for all courses. There are courses like engineering and pharmacy and so on, where you have to have strong CSEC math pass grades. But there are other programs where we're saying, okay, can we look at students who don't have 4 CSEC and still accept them and transform them? We even take students who don't have any subjects. I don't know if people realize this, but we look at your work experience. So, so maybe one of you ladies might say, well, I want to go back to UTech and pursue a course. And we will look at your work experience. Could be 7 years, 10 years work experience. That's a very strong portfolio. And say, okay, yes, we could take you to do an undergraduate course or a master's program. We're looking at how we can take students with City and Guilds, Maths, Heart, level 3. But what we've learned in the past is that when you do compromise the matriculation requirements, you do have to provide bridging courses. So we're building those out as well.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Doc. We just have to get it done, no?
Yes, thank you very much, Doc. President of the University of Technology, Jamaica, Dr. Kevin Brown.
After the break, we speak with Heidi Layla, President of the Equestrian Federation of Jamaica, on her appointment to the FEI Solidarity Committee.